Back to another video. So now we're going to get into cellular function. So first we're going to talk about the different structural proteins that we have, and I will say this is one of the most important concepts, especially in this whole book. I would say understanding these three. So collagen, triple helix, strengthen connective tissue. Okay, so understand that it strengthens your connective tissue. Okay, next we go into elastin. So I feel like this one's easier to remember because elastic. So again, this can help stretch and recoil. Keratin, these ones are easier for me to remember just because they're found in your hair and your nails. And if you think about it, intermediate filaments help hold things together. So it's like they're what makes your hair and your nails your hair and your nails. Actin, microfilaments. I feel like by now we should all know what microfilaments are. So these are easier to remember. And then we know our tubulins, so microtubules. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about motor proteins and what they use. So we're going to go ahead and talk about motor proteins. So we know motor proteins use ATPase activity for movement. So they use ATP to move. They work alongside with your cytoskeletal elements, so in particular actin and tubulin. Myosin interacts with actin. And again, this one is 100% what we call, I guess, high yield. And then we know these two are pretty important too, very fun fact. So anterograde transport and then retrograde, okay? Those are the main differences between these two. And then here we use ciliary and flagellum movement. So next we're gonna go through our binding proteins. So binding proteins, I don't know what they do, right? So binding proteins bind to transport or stabilize them. So example is gonna be like hemoglobin, calcium binding proteins and DNA binding proteins. Okay, so we know hemoglobin is iron, calcium is obviously calcium, and then DNA binding proteins would be magnesium. Actually, don't quote me on that. So cell adhesion molecules help bind cells to other cells. Adhesion, right, connection. So the three different types of cell adhesion, and this is definitely something I would call pretty big information. Your cat herons are calcium dependent, so these use calcium. Your integrins bind to your ECM, and they're involved in signaling, and then your selectins obviously focus more on carbohydrates, and they're really using immune response. So a few more. We're going to go over antibodies, and this is another one where I'm like, yeah, pretty important. So antibodies are produced by B cells. They bind specific antigens with variable regions, okay? So you need, how do I want to say this? Each antibody is special to one thing, right? So each antibody has, that's why it's called a variable region. So it's variable, and each variable region binds to a specific pathogen, okay? And yeah, they consist of recruits to immune cells. And then functions of them is aggregation, optimization, and neutralization. Okay, and that is all you need to know about cellular function. So next we're going to get into biosignaling. I see you there.